Tonight from the White House, the urgent, unprecedented meeting of European leaders pushing for peace. President Zelensky back in the Oval Office, side by side with President Trump. The event with world leaders unlike any other in modern history. Trump was asked would he send troops to help secure peace in Ukraine. What he's saying now about a potential meeting with him, Zelensky, and Vladimir Putin. Plus, the president heard on a hot mic appearing to say he thinks Putin wants to make a deal for him. The new bloodshed in Ukraine, Richard Engel on the ground as a civilian apartment building is struck, a toddler among the dead inside. Hurricane Erin surging north, emergency evacuation orders in place as the dangerous storm gets closer. The new warnings tonight and the threat to the East Coast beach towns during one of the busiest weeks of the summer. Shocking security footage, our first look inside the Michigan Walmart, where last month a man went on a violent stabbing spree. Wildfires in Europe burning out of control, soldiers and firefighters trying to stop those deadly flames. The president targeting mail-in ballots, calling them, quote, corrupt, and falsely claiming they undermine elections. Our fact check ahead of the midterms next year.
This is NBC Nightly News. Reporting tonight from the White House, here is Tom Yamas.
And good evening tonight from Washington. Right now, just behind us, an attempt at peace is being worked on. The meetings were supposed to wrap up hours ago, but late tonight they continue. And we understand after meeting with European leaders, President Trump today has phoned Vladimir Putin in Russia. Earlier, this was President Trump meeting with the Ukrainian leader. They were warm, cordial, and seeming to agree with each other. This only 6 months after their last Oval Office meeting ended, you'll remember, explosively. The White House releasing this new black and white photo of the two leaders today looking at a map of the embattled region with contested land, a central piece of any potential deal. All of it as Russian explosions blasted through parts of Ukraine today. It comes just days after President Trump's high-stakes summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska ended quickly with no ceasefire secured. Late tonight, we're learning the two leaders spoke for almost 40 minutes. Today, with the president posting he's begun arrangements for a meeting between him, Putin, and Zelensky. We start tonight inside the Oval Office with that meeting watched by the world. Tonight, the historic sequel, President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelensky back at the White House.
President Trump, sir, your message to the people of Ukraine as world leaders gather here today.
Part of President Trump's push for a peace deal in Ukraine. Zelensky, this time in a black suit, again in the Oval Office, both leaders striking a much friendlier tone.
It's an honor to have the president of Ukraine with us.
Thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war.
Far different from the Oval Office blow-up from a few months ago.
You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards.
Today, President Trump saying he's optimistic.
People are being killed, and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it.
But there's been little sign of progress. Russia controls 20% of Ukraine and wants to keep that and more as a condition to end the war, while Zelensky says Ukraine won't cede territory. Inside the White House, Trump and Zelensky looking at a map of Ukraine. Zelensky saying he wants U.S. security guarantees.
What guarantees do you need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything.
Ukraine also demanding the children, families, and prisoners of war taken by Russia be released.
And I was very thankful to your wife again, Mr. President, for the letter about our abducted children. And I hope that really it can be a historic role for the people to bring kids back.
President Trump today was pressed would those security guarantees include U.S. troops. The president not ruling it out, but saying Europe will carry most of the burden.
Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe, but we're going to help them out also.
In a dramatic show of force, Mr. Trump inviting several European leaders to that later meeting with Zelensky, who sounded hopeful.
I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump.
Very good.
And it really was the best one, maybe the best one will be in the future.
Zelensky saying he would support a trilateral meeting with him, President Trump, and Putin, who, despite the push for peace, launched another deadly drone strike on an apartment building in Ukraine. Still, President Trump heard on a hot mic late today. You can see him talking to French President Emmanuel Macron, appearing to say, quote, as crazy as it sounds, he thinks Putin wants to make a deal for him.
I think he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds.
Macron and other European leaders praising Trump's efforts, but publicly calling for a ceasefire before any meeting with Putin.
Your idea to ask for a truce or a ceasefire, at least to stop the killings, as we discussed, is a necessity.
But after his Alaska summit with Putin failed to produce a ceasefire, President Trump saying he did not think it was necessary.
I don't think you need a ceasefire. I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting.
And revealing he would call Putin later today.
We're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it.
A big day here at the White House. Let's pick it up right there. I want to bring in Kristen Welker. She's moderator of Meet the Press. Kristen, I know you have some new reporting on what President Trump said in that call to Putin.
Tom, that's right. President Trump posting he called Putin to begin arrangements for a meeting between Putin and Zelensky. And after that takes place a trilateral meeting with Putin, Zelensky, and Mr. Trump. Now, White House official earlier today telling me this summit shows that President Trump is committed to ending the war. But I've also been talking to many Ukrainian and European officials who stress some of the thorniest issues have not yet been touched, like how both sides would handle a potential division of territory. The time and location of those meetings, Tom, still to be determined.
A lot of questions. All right, Kristen, we thank you. As the events unfolded here in Washington, Russia launched even more deadly attacks today, including an early morning drone strike, wiping out an apartment building that killed several people, including a toddler. Richard Engel joins us tonight live on the ground in Kharkiv. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening. There were multiple Russian attacks across Ukraine today, and the air raid sirens here in Kharkiv are continuing into the night, which is a main reason why many Ukrainians don't agree with President Trump that there is no need for a ceasefire.
Across Ukraine, Russia launched what seemed like indiscriminate attacks against civilians and vital infrastructure, targeting the power grid in the south, a university in the north, shops and residences in central Ukraine, and out east in Kharkiv, we arrived at an apartment building shortly after it was pummeled by Russian drones. President Putin says Russia never attacks civilian targets in Ukraine, but survivors tell us this building, clearly full of families, was hit by a barrage of Russian drones, each exploding 30 seconds apart, suggesting it was deliberately targeted.
And even as they are still looking for survivors here, the air raid sirens have gone off once again, meaning that a Russian attack is possibly inbound right now.
Alexander told me he, his wife, and 5-year-old son were sleeping when the drone struck before sunrise, causing a gas leak and fire. They barely escaped alive.
Considering what just happened to you and your family, what do you think about the talks today between President Trump and President Zelensky to reach some sort of peace agreement with Russia?
I just wish it could end sooner, he says, because of things like this. 7 people were killed here, 18 injured, including me. I just want it all to end as quickly as possible. One body was wrapped in blankets amid the debris. Among the dead was a 1.5-year-old girl, her grandmother and parents, with an entire family wiped out in an attack we happened to witness. It's little surprise Ukrainians want a peace deal, security guarantees, and a ceasefire. Richard Engel, NBC News, Kharkiv, Ukraine.
And as we monitor the plans for peace here at the White House, we're also tracking Hurricane Erin, a powerful Cat 4 storm with winds of 140 miles per hour, expected to remain a dangerous threat. Right now, the storm is near the Turks and Caicos, north of Grand Turk Island, and look at the size of it. Its impact is being felt at beaches up and down the East Coast. And Erin Gilchrist reports from North Carolina's Outer Banks, where there are evacuation orders tonight. And Erin, there's new warnings there as well?
Yeah, you're right, Tom. There is a tropical storm watch that we just got here for the Outer Banks. And one of the big concerns right now is that we could see waves here 3 times taller than I am, and oceanfront homes like that one may not stand a chance. Tonight, Hurricane Erin barreling through the Atlantic, causing flash flooding in Puerto Rico, sweeping through the Virgin Islands and the Turks and Caicos Islands. The hurricane, now a strong Cat 4, is expected to stay well off the North Carolina coast, but it's already triggering mandatory evacuations along the Outer Banks, where waves could reach 20 feet.
Those breaking waves will push water up into communities and potentially do structural damage along our vulnerable dune front.
With parts of the only highway connecting these islands expected to become impassable in the coming days, visitors and residents on Hatteras and Ocracoke Islands being told to leave. But some locals say they're hunkering down.
We've been through it many times, and we're accustomed to the roads flooding. And the old timers here, feel like this is not going to be the big one.
The eastern seaboard from Florida to Massachusetts now at risk for coastal flooding and life-threatening rip currents. One beach in North Carolina seeing at least 60 rip current rescues just today.
Even though the weather can be nice at the coast, it can still have dangerous surf and rip current conditions from a hurricane that's well offshore.
In the Virgin Islands, 2 scuba divers had to be rescued over the weekend after being swept away from their boat. This Boy Scout troop from Wisconsin stranded in St. Thomas after the hurricane cut their sailing trip short.
Well, the storm arrived and all planes became grounded.
I was mainly just, hunkering down and staying in place.
All this as the East Coast braces for a powerful hurricane churning in the Atlantic. Erin Gilchrist, NBC News, Rodanthe, North Carolina.
And back here at the White House, President Trump ripped mail-in voting today, vowing to sign an executive order to get rid of it. Meanwhile, the president's federal takeover of D.C. law enforcement continues with more troops on the way. Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, President Trump is promising to lead a movement revamping the nation's election system by doing away with mail-in voting.
Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots.
Despite no evidence of widespread voter fraud, the president says he'll sign an executive order ahead of next year's midterm elections. But that would likely face legal challenges. The Constitution gives states the power to oversee elections, not the federal government. Can the president actually do this?
This is unconstitutional, first, because the Constitution doesn't allow for the president to just willy-nilly take things over. Second, the states are not agents of the federal government.
Trump says he spoke about the issue Friday with Russian President Putin.
Vladimir Putin, smart guy, said you can't have an honest election with mail-in voting.
The president has often railed against the practice.
We're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses it.
He is wrong. Switzerland, Germany, Greece, the UK, and Austria are among the 34 countries that allow some form of mail-in voting. It all comes amid new protests over the president's federal takeover of Washington, D.C.'s police department and his deployment of the National Guard.
All I want is security for our people.
Now, more Republican-led states, including Mississippi, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio, are sending hundreds of new troops.
What doesn't make sense? The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C.
And Gabe joins us now live here at the White House. Gabe, you're learning more about who federal agents are targeting in this operation?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. According to the White House, about 40% of those arrested by federal agents have been undocumented immigrants. The top categories include drugs and weapons charges. Now, National Guard troops have not been making arrests, but the White House now says that they may be armed to protect federal buildings.
All right, Gabe, great to see you here. Now to California, where prosecutors say the woman known as the Ketamine Queen has agreed to plead guilty to federal drug charges connected to actor Matthew Perry's death. Chloe Malas joins us with more. Chloe, good evening.
Hey there, Tom. Yasmin Sangha has agreed to plead guilty to 5 federal charges. Perry died after overdosing on ketamine in 2023, according to the medical examiner. Sangha is now the 5th individual to have reached a plea deal. Her attorney, Mark Garagos, telling NBC News that his client is taking responsibility for her actions. This plea agreement states that Sangha worked with another defendant to sell Perry 51 vials of ketamine in the weeks before his death, and 3 of those vials were used the day that he died. The plea deal also states that following Perry's death, Sangha tried to delete any incriminating messages and instructed another defendant to do so as well. Tom, all 5 individuals are awaiting sentencing, but Sangha still faces decades in prison.
Chloe Malas for us tonight. Chloe, we thank you. We're back in 60 seconds with the new video just in. Moments of horror as a man goes on a stabbing spree section by section in a Michigan Walmart. What the video shows. That's next. We are back now with some chilling new surveillance video showing a suspect running through the aisles of a Walmart and violently stabbing unsuspecting shoppers. Our Maggie Vespa just spoke exclusively with one of those victims. We do want to warn you tonight, this video is graphic.
Watch as the suspect with the green backpack sneaks up on his first victim, the woman in black. He appears to throw her to the ground, then chase another customer. Authorities say it was just the start of last month's stabbing spree at a Michigan Walmart. The 360-degree video paused and rotated by authorities in Traverse City. The next target, this man in blue. The suspect, identified as 42-year-old Bradford Gilley, then appears to jab his right hand at that man in the jacket who goes flying. Moments later, you see Gilley run left into the pharmacy before appearing to stab someone in frozen foods. This man attacked by a display of cherries. In an exclusive interview with NBC News, victim Erin says he was shopping with his wife and 4 kids when he was attacked.
I thought I was being punched, and after the third one, I noticed that, okay, this isn't a punch, I'm being stabbed.
As a dad, as you're being stabbed, are you just thinking about your kids there?
Really, the only thing that was on my mind when I was being stabbed is like, is my wife safe and are my kids safe? And I knew that I was shielding them.
Gilley, moments later, seen running to the parking lot, attacking this woman from behind. Cell phone video later captured a crowd corralling Gilley until authorities came. Investigators say all 11 victims survived. Gilley's pleaded not guilty to assault and terrorism charges. Court records show he has a history of mental health issues. Tonight, investigators releasing these photos showing blood in the pharmacy produce section near a display of Oreos. The chilling aftermath of a terrifying attack. Maggie Vespa, NBC News.
Back in a moment with wildfires raging in parts of Europe, the growing threat to popular summer spots, plus the woman who, get this, traveled across the country by skateboard. Her incredible story when we come back. We are back now with deadly wildfires overseas. Take a look. In Spain and Portugal, massive fires are spreading, blamed for at least 5 deaths. It's Spain's worst stretch of wildfires in history, burning up more land than any other fire on record there. The Spanish defense minister saying these massive fires have special characteristics as a result of climate change. Nearly a dozen Amtrak routes were canceled today after a coal train derailed in North Carolina. Look at this. The stunning pictures show multiple CSX train cars off the tracks, crunched together. The company says no one was injured. Crews are working to clear the debris. The cause of this derailment is now under investigation. And take a look at this. It's the moment a skateboarder, Brooke Johnson, finished her record-breaking skate across the country. She started in California more than 100 days ago and wrapped up in Virginia Beach. She made the trip in memory of her late stepfather, raising money for spinal cord research along the way. That's Nightly News for this Monday. I'm Tom Yamas. Thanks so much for watching. Tonight, and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.